This is Ed in Big Bear Lake, California, 7,000 feet above LA Metro. And our special guest today is Mark D. Walker, coming to us live at this moment from Scottsdale, Arizona. Welcome, Mark D. Walker.
Thank you, Ed. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So the website, audience, I'm going to read this, millionmilewalker.com. Now that is a cool moniker there. How'd you come up and why is it millionmilewalker.com?
Well, I haven't measured the miles, but I've got a lot of frequent flyer miles over. Matter of fact, my last book is the last part of it is 50 years on the road. So it's been 50 years, started with the Peace Corps in Guatemala, traveled all over the world with different organizations. And basically my focus with the Million Mile Walker is celebrating international trade and cross cultural interaction, relationships, overseas development, and philanthropy. So that's really the focus of Million Mile Walker.
Well, good for you. Wow, that's great. Okay, so we're going to talk about you. You have a book that I'd like you to hold up, and then you have a new book coming out. Okay, so my saddest pleasures, 50 years on the road, and hold up that image a little bit higher, and it shows local people. Would you describe that photo image on the front of that book?
Yes, this is when I was sitting on the road as a Peace Corps volunteer, and those big bags next to me, those are mine. So I'm going to live for the next year up in the highlands of Guatemala at 13,000 feet, highest volcano in the world. And I'm waiting for one of the chicken buses, which are the local buses with very colorful paintings on the outside. And I would squeeze in with all of the local farmers. It'd take about 4 buses to get where I'm going. So this picture was taken in 1971 on the Pan American Highway in Guatemala.
So can I ask a silly question about the length of your hair at that time? was it worn in the same style as your hair today?
Well, I had a lot more then. My wife said, this was a year after I was there. My hair was a lot longer and I had a band around it, and I had bell-bottom pants on. And so she asked her friend, who is that gringo hippie? So, that was those were the days, and that was the style.
I get it. Yes. Okay. So there's a lot to unpack here. So it's Mark D. Walker. Go check it out on LinkedIn. And the website, once again, is millionmilewalker.com. Okay, now we're going to get into it a little bit. So Mark is a writer. And what led you to become, I'm going to ask you this, what led you to become a writer and focusing in on cross-cultural communications and travel?
Well, first off, as a Peace Corps volunteer, those are basic reasons. They're basic reasons that one's motivated to leave your home, go to another culture, learn another language, go to very isolated areas where they don't understand you, you don't understand them, and try to serve and make a difference in people's lives. So I think a lot of it comes from that initial motivation and desire to travel. And then once you learn the language, you say to yourself, well, wait a second, there are 15 other countries, they only speak Spanish. I need to do something about that. I put on, after I got married, I actually told my wife this was a dream of mine. I put on a backpack. I left for 5 months in traveling, and saw all of Latin America, or as much as I could see on the back of buses and trucks and railroads. That was about it. And out of that came my first book, which is Different Latitudes, My Life in the Peace Corps and Beyond. And that really tells the story about why I did it, where I went, and just to facilitate and help the reader just a little bit. At the very end, I have a map to help people see where I
Cool.
worked, where I traveled over the years. And this is actually a Google interactive map, so people can go on my website under bio, click on it, and you can see background information on places like Bogota, Colombia, Freetown, Sierra Leone, and the different places where we worked and traveled.
Fascinating. Okay, so then you wrote a book called The Yin and Yang, Y-I-N, Yin and Yang, Y-A-N-G, Yin and Yang of Travel. What makes this different from traditional travel writing?
Well, first off, the Yin and Yang of Travel is a series of articles and books that I've written. This latest one, this is part of the Yin and Yang of Travel. And I was inspired by Paul Theroux's book, The Tao of Travel. And Paul Theroux is one of the best known travel authors. They call him the godfather of travel writing. He wrote Mosquito Coast among 36 others. Since you're from the Boston area, you'll know his background and that sort of thing. And I was inspired by him, and I decided to write my own book, about my series about the different ways that I've learned to travel over the years and how it changed since I was a single Peace Corps volunteer. And then I married a local lady, and then we had 3 children, and then I had to work different parts of the world. And most interestingly, then I began to take large groups of donors to some really isolated places. So this was all part of that process.
Good for you. Okay, so the role of the writer, I'm just to ask you the questions for give and take. The role of the writer, how has writing and publishing changed over the years? And what's your role and responsibility to the literary community as a whole?
Well, of course, that's taken the last 5 or 6 years to figure out because, for 45 years I was managing and raising money for international causes. So I wasn't a writer. This is sort of uh, a new experience for me. And so what I found out is, number one, I've tried to share my experience with other writers and provide resources that I become aware of with them. So next month I'll make a presentation to the Arizona Professional Writers Group, and I have a column in the Arizona Authors Association. It's called Million Mile Walker Review: What We're Reading and Why, because I've written over 65 book reviews. And so I always try to give back, and the industry has changed tremendously. Just recently, the 2 of the 5 largest publishing companies are in the process of merging. And what does this mean? This means that there are going to be less options for authors, and the focus more and more is going to be on selling books and building and making money. And so for the smaller writer, the smaller book and the elimination of a lot more bookstores, because between Amazon and then you've only got 5 and then down to maybe 4 big publishing companies, this consolidation is going to have a very negative impact and create a lot of challenge. And that means writers need to do things a lot differently in regards to their business and how they write and how they sell their books.
Yeah, it's already obvious to people in the quote industry, but all businesses must become multimedia businesses in order to get their messages out to different audiences, because most can't afford to put an ad on CNN or MSNBC or Fox or whoever, but anyone can do this kind of thing if you do it right, and not just produce it like what we're doing this second, but afterwards, the distribution, smart marketing tied in with a topic or an area or a cause.
Well, they say 60 or 70% of the books are sold online now. My book is my latest book, The Saddest Pleasures. It was published by cyberwit.com in India. So they're in India. And the reason I chose them was because I wrote a review of a poet friend's book. They liked the review. They basically do what they call poetry chapbooks, and they liked it. So I got back to them and I said, "You guys do poetry chapbook. How about a travel chapbook?" And they said, "Yeah, we like that. This is only 63 pages long." And the nice thing about it is they do a beautiful job with the photographs. So, I mean, this is a photo of, I'm up in the Cuchmatane Mountains in Guatemala. This is from 1971. And they did a great job. So they used the right paper. They did a great job. And now I have a global platform to try to sell my books other than Amazon, which is almost a given these days.
Yeah. Okay. So back into history, you at the time were going back in time, which I want you to. So I'm pitching this to you and then turning it over to you to go deeper. CEO of Hagar, Hagar, Hagar USA, which supports survivors of human trafficking. And your book, Different Latitudes, Your Life in the Peace Corps and Beyond, was recognized by the Arizona Literary Association for Nonfiction through Latin American, African, European, Asian topography, cuisine, politics, and history, informative, compelling, impressively candid. So latitudes means it's almost like the globe. It means here and there and there, right?
Right.
Right.
And all the different changes in between, culturally, with
cool.
cuisine and that sort of thing.
Okay, now in your documentary film production, Guatemala, Trouble in the Highlands, what's this? This is armed militants.
I write a series of articles on immigration and immigration. Why are people being compelled to leave their land in the highlands of Guatemala? That's where I worked. And how are we dealing with them? How, et cetera? Why aren't we doing a better job? This was going to be the focus of that. I wrote one article, Trouble in the Highlands, and that was the title of the documentary. Unfortunately, COVID really hit us hard. We lost the momentum on it. We didn't get the funding, and so that particular project is on the shelf right now. But the idea was to have a documentary, interview the Mayans and the locals who are impacted, find out why, ask them, interview some of their families here in the United States, and really get an understanding of what the dynamics are and how can the Guatemala government and our government and all of us be part of finding some solutions to this ongoing I won't say disaster, but it's a definite challenge economically and socially for us.
So our programs are not political, but of course everything's political. But the U.S. southern border today, and we're in mid-August 22. It's a mess situation. It's a terrible thing, and tragic, not just for the U.S. southern border, but for the people that are waiting. They've traveled already, getting away from gangs or narcotics or trouble or whatever, and they're stuck in Mexico. And what do you think can be done? I mean, considering your background in fundraising and charity and trying to find solutions, what do you think should be done right now in southern border U.S.?
Well, as a writer, one of the things we try to do is tell the stories of those individuals so that we start to develop some empathy and appreciation of why they're there, who they are, really overcome a lot of the misinformation. These people are bringing drugs, which is totally not true. It's the cartel bringing the drugs and it's our country's really inability to deal with drug issues that's the underlying cause of the problem. So that's what we were trying to do with the film. The other factor is that we often overlook the fact that so much of our economy depends on immigration. I mean, there are a lot of farmers there in California not getting their crops in because they can't get a steady flow of workers. And that's the same with chicken producers, pork producers. So you have industries in this country that urgently need new labor. And there are people that have family members up in the US already. They're well connected. It's not going to cost a lot of money to get them productive, and then they pay their taxes. And those people need to become given, work visas and allowed up into the country. But really, a lot of, the really difficult work is changing the attitudes and understanding of who these people are, why they're coming, why they're important to our society, and how can we make them. I mean, the fact that we still haven't been able to deal with those young dreamers who only speak English and wouldn't know where to go if they were sent back to their so-called country of origin, and we still haven't been able to figure. And they're going to generate so much good income for our economy, and we still haven't been able to get them on a path to citizenship, is a clear indication that we're a long way from effectively dealing with real solutions to the problems.
Well said. So, Mark D. Walker, thank you very much for being on Global TV Talk Show. You bring some depth and a lot of good information to our audience. I appreciate that. And I welcome you to come back next month or whenever is good for you as you progress in your efforts, and maybe give us a report and give us updates.
I appreciate that. Thanks so much, Ed.
Great. Once again, it's Mark D. Walker on LinkedIn, and the website again,
millionmilewalker.com.
That's really cool. Thanks again for being on Global TV.
Okay.
This is Ed signing off. Bye-bye. Thank you.